안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 저희 집에서 파티를 했어요. 오랜만에 영화관 갔는데 진짜 언어 공부는 꾸준히 해야 됩니다. 운동도 마찬가지고요. 운동하겠습니다. 이 풍선 어떻게 버려요? 이 바람이 빠질 때까지 기다려야 되는 거 아니에요? 자, 팔굽혀펴기랑 운동을 하겠습니다. 역시 운동을 할 때 CNN.
Climate change is one critical ingredient why fire emergencies have become more regular, more long-lasting, and more severe. You see warming temperatures, longer dry seasons, and extreme events like heat waves that synchronize the risk of fire across enormous landscapes. But unlike other disasters, they send their smoke high into the atmosphere and send it far downwind. And that means that fires, like we're seeing in the Western United States, have an impact on a planetary scale. One of my jobs is to use our more than 20 satellites on orbit to sort of build the puzzle about how and where and why fires burn. We can better understand these new extreme fire events. We'll be better able to predict and prepare for that next round of conditions that could lead to large and catastrophic wildfires.
I'm David Culver in Wuhan, China. In Yokohama, Japan.
CNN in Abu Dhabi.
I'm Nerman Bagher in Sinjar, Iraq.
Northern Syria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Stockholm.
Outside London.
CNN, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
In Mexico City. This is CNN.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
A giant leap for Elon Musk's SpaceX. The company has launched 4 astronauts into orbit to meet up with the International Space Station. Rachel Crane reports from Kennedy Space Center.
History was made here today at the Kennedy Space Center when NASA astronauts Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and JAXA astronaut Soichi Noguchi from Japan Space Agency after a successful launch at 7:27 from Launch Pad 39A, which is of course where Apollo 11 astronauts blasted off to the moon back in 1969. The mission was pegged Crew 1, and it was the first operational mission for SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, which the astronauts renamed Resilience in honor of the hardships of 2020. The countdown was not without its tense moments, including a detected air leak when the hatch door was first closed. However, technicians were able to troubleshoot the problem and the astronauts launched on time. They are currently making their way through space on a 27-hour journey before they rendezvous with the International Space Station, where they will live and work for the next 6 months. They will be joining 3 ISS crew members on board the floating laboratory, bringing the total number of crew members to 7, which will dramatically increase the amount of science and research the crew can perform. Now, since the retirement of the shuttle back in 2011, NASA has not had a homegrown way of getting to the International Space Station. And over the years, NASA has paid Russia over $4 billion to fly in their Soyuz spacecraft to get there. Sunday's launch is so significant because it marks the true beginning of commercial flights to the International Space Station, something that ends our dependence on the Russians to ferry our astronauts to space, and NASA hopes the commercial flights will save the agency money and allow NASA to focus on deep space missions, like going back to the moon and one day putting boots on Mars. Rachel Crane, CNN, Kennedy Space Center.
And earlier, my colleague Michael Holmes spoke with former NASA astronaut Leroy Chow about how this new role for private companies is changing the space program. Here's what he had to say.
I think it's been very positive because, as you know, several years ago, as a member of that White House appointed committee to review U.S. human spaceflight plans, and part of what we put together as an option for the administration was to help these commercial companies develop the capability to deliver and return at NASA astronauts and international astronauts commercially, kind of a rental car model or maybe an Uber model, if you will, where instead of maintaining the infrastructure, within NASA can contract for these services after helping jumpstart these efforts. And this is a great example with SpaceX now delivering their second flight with astronauts on board. And this opens up the future. It opens up possibilities for other commercial companies to book rides or flights with SpaceX down the road.
American Dustin Johnson
이거
is
한번
donning the
빨아야겠다.
famous green jacket after winning the
밥풀
84th
밥풀들이
Masters,
너무 많이
held
떨어져
initially
있네요.
late this year, and he did it with the fewest strokes ever. Andy Scholes has the story.
Well, after that big third round on Saturday that gave Dustin Johnson the lead, he was able to go out there in the final round of the Masters on Sunday, fight through the nerves, and cruise to victory to put on his first ever green jacket. And I followed DJ around the course for most of his day. Looked shaky early on, but was able to settle in, shoot 4 under for his final round. Ends the tournament 20 under par, which is a Masters record. DJ's little brother Austin, who caddies for him, tearing up on 18 as they were finishing up. His fiance, Polina Gretzky, running to give him a big hug and kiss to congratulate him. Now, DJ grew up just about an hour from Augusta in Columbia, South Carolina. He dreamed of winning this tournament as a kid, and he was very emotional when speaking about finally putting on his first green jacket.
Just growing up so close to here, it's always been, a tournament that, since I've been on tour, and since I played my first Masters, it's been, the tournament I wanted to win the most. As a kid, dream of playing in the Masters and, dream about putting on a green jacket. Couldn't be more happy. And, I think I look pretty good in green too.
And DJ had been 0 for 4 closing out majors when leading after 3 rounds, and he said after this win, feels really good to finally close one out. And there wasn't much drama either. DJ's 5-stroke win, the most here at the Masters since Tiger won back in 1997. And Tiger, meanwhile, had a wild day. He hit into the water on 12, not 1, not 2, but 3 times. Last year, Tiger survived 12 in the final round while others found the water, which helped him win the tournament. This time around, though, not so lucky. Tiger a 10 on a hole for the first time in his career, but he actually fought back with birdies at 5 of his final 6 holes. Take away that 10, Tiger had himself a decent tournament. Now, we won't have to wait long for the next Masters. The 2021 tournament now just 5 months away. This tournament certainly odd to not have the fans out there on the course. Here's hoping they return in 2021.
Absolutely. And in Belgium, a record-breaking auction for a 2-year-old racing pigeon. This bird, named New Kim, was sold for almost $2 million on Sunday, breaking last year's record by a significant margin. She was initially put up for auction at about $235, but bidding rose sharply, and she was ultimately sold to a buyer from China, where long-distance pigeon racing is becoming popular. One of the auctioneers says the new owner will likely want to breed her because Belgium tends to produce elite birds and potential champions. Well, thanks so much for your company. I'm Rosemary Church. Early Start is up next. You're watching CNN. Do stay with us.
The planet is changing. We cannot ignore these warning signs that nature's giving us. We have to reflect, but we also have to act. My relationship with Hyundai started in 2016. We realized that there was a lot of overlap in our understanding of what it meant to really push for a more sustainable future.
It's a very big challenge to reorganize a business model that is fundamentally very different. But it's one that we at Hyundai have started working towards.
Hyundai have already started using sustainable materials on their upcoming Ioniq electric lineup. There is a huge chance now for the whole system to shift to a more sustainable way of being.
I strongly believe that when all of us join hands under a common goal, sustainability for human progress is within our reach.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson.
Getting perspective on this region from this region, bringing you the world from our Middle Eastern hub.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson tonight on CNN.
We are very humbled about the situation we are in. I mean, COVID-19 is nothing less than a tragedy for so many people. We grew about 90% last year, and despite the pandemic, we think that we're going to reach the similar result for this year. We don't know what tomorrow is going to look like for sure, but there are things in movement that you can see accelerating. Sustainability definitely being one of them. And I mean, we make oat milk, yeah, but the idea is so much bigger than that. And it's driven by young people who understand that they're going to be given what's going to be inherited. So that is a really powerful movement that is global. And, you know, you can see that across all the continents. Most people want to do good and they want to eat healthy and drink healthy and all that. But it's also who you are as a company and what you stand for. That is equally important for that consumer.
I'm Salma Abdulaziz in London, and this is CNN.
몇 분 했죠?
Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. This is Early Start. I'm Laura Jarrett.
Good Monday morning. Nice to see you. I'm Christine Romans. It is Monday, November 16th, 5 a.m. exactly in New York. We have reports this morning from Wilmington, Hong Kong, Berlin, London, Paris, and Cape Canaveral. No matter where you live in the U.S., coronavirus is closing in. The United States has seen more than 100,000 new cases for 13 straight days. The first million cases in the U.S. took 3 months. The last million took 6 days. The positive test rate soaring across the country. In South Dakota, Kansas, and Iowa, more than half of tests are coming back positive. Now, states are being forced to reimpose restrictions that haven't been enforced since the pandemic crushed the country in the spring. Among them, North Dakota, Ohio, New Mexico, Washington, Illinois, Utah, Oregon, and the latest, Michigan. High schools and colleges have gone back to remote learning and indoor dining suspended. The weather gets colder and people spend more time indoors. This virus will spread.
여기까지만 하겠습니다.
This is the worst public health emergency our nation has faced in over a century. And our response has got to reflect the